Greetings. Doing some ink here with the Princeton Velvetouch 10-0 liner. It's a little side project of the many side projects that I have. Just diligently chipping away at everything and anything that I get my hands on. And one of the biggest projects is to develop a means and a method of using just the Princeton brush for a project. And I have a side project I'm working on in the shadows. Something personal, but I'm not going to delve into it now. What I'm working on right here is a story that I worked on when I was in high school. Back when I originally had the dream, the idea of working in comics. And I would go to art school and I would get into illustration and drop out of art school. I would drift around for a few months, and then a friend of the family had a place in Estes Park, Colorado. So I stayed there for a little while. I worked in a restaurant as a dishwasher, moved my way up into the company to be, the sous chef? Basically the kitchen supervisor. Did that for a little while, and then I got sick of the chefs. The massive turnover rate in the business was insane. I mean, a lot of seasonal employees, but just generally, the turnover rate was ridiculous. And I had essentially mastered as much as I wanted to in the business, and so I left. And I worked a little while off my savings. And then I started working into retail, and we won't get into that right now. And so the idea of being a professional was generally put on hold just to maintain the basics. And again, when I got out of high school, it wasn't anything that I thought was a realistic expectation. But I drew every day. And I wrote, too, quite a lot. If I wasn't drawing, I was writing. And if I wasn't writing, I was drawing. My entire existence surrounded these preoccupations. Didn't do much else. It's interesting, though, you think about it. You can regret not making choices that you did. But regret isn't really facing what you didn't do. Because facing what you didn't do or what you failed to do requires a little bit of acceptance. You have to say to yourself, well, I'm the person I am today. And to regret means that I wish I wasn't the person I am today. Especially considering the fact that you have no choice but to be the person you are today. Are you the best person? Well, that's almost impossible to say. You are the only version of yourself. You aren't another version somewhere off into a parallel universe. Can you be better tomorrow? Of course you can. But to beat yourself up over the things you didn't do or couldn't do or didn't choose to do at a later date, accept those decisions and move on. I've started this project 3 times. And it's weird because this project was something that it's all played out. It's all planned out. I've played the story over and over and over in my imagination since the first day I came up with it. And yet, this is the 3rd or 4th time I've tried it here, in the here and now. And it's not because it's not an original story or I'm concerned with the story itself. It's not an original story. Well, it's not an original concept. It's a well, I'm visiting a concept that I saw somewhere else, and I liked how it was done in that, but I figured that I could do a version of my own. And that's just how a lot of things are. There's no such, I think originality for the sake of originality is an unrealistic or an ideal that can't be realized, because you become a reflection of too many of the things you've already seen, already witnessed. And so a lot of times you're reinterpreting things that you've seen or heard. And in many ways, a lot of times, I think some of the most garbage products of the creative mind are someone who's broken by the obsession with being 100% original, which is impossible. Variations on a theme. When I was in art school, the derogatory term derivative was used quite a lot. Oh, that's derivative. Oh, it's so derivative. Why do you do something like that? It's so derivative. Of course it is. If you look at the actual word derivative, it makes perfect sense, because the early Renaissance was derived from pre-Renaissance, and High Renaissance was a derivative of early Renaissance and other such influences that were found at that time. And the Baroque period in painting was a derivative of the Northern Renaissance and the Southern Renaissance and various styles therein. And modernism is a relative derivation, I guess, of many other things that are not related to artwork. Industrialization, the invention of global economies of scale. Everything is derived from something else. So the idea that something is derivative can actually be considered something of a complement.